All commentary and opinions provided by the Jock Support Podcast are solely our own and do not express the views or opinions of our respective employers. No listener of the Jock Support Podcast should act or refrain from acting on the basis of information on this podcast without first seeking a medical professional. All liability with respect to actions taken or not taken based on the contents of the Jock Support Podcast are hereby expressly disclaimed. You ever watch a sporting event and wonder who's the meathead, headbutting dudes in helmets?
Or the guy spraying water through a player's face mask?
Welcome to the Jock Support Podcast. I'm your co-host, Chris Virtue, alongside Colin Francis.
We'll provide our experiences and insights on what really is required amongst the support systems of elite level teams and athletes.
We're one strength coach
and one athletic trainer,
peeling back the curtain on what really goes on underneath those bleachers. Are you ready, bro?
I'm ready, man.
Yeah, buddy.
Let's get it.
Yeah, make it bounce, make it bump. Always give the party people what they want. The speakers be banging highs, mids, and lows. Make you want to start getting busy on the floor. All the fly girls screaming out. The DJs rocking and shocking.
Today, you know who we got?
Who we got today, Chris?
We got Tom Morris joining us on the Jock Support Podcast. And if you can't see it, you're missing out, because this man is the embodiment of gorgeousness right now. Just his flow, his drip, his beard, his hair, everything is just right on. Everything you'd want out of a Jock supporter. But today, folks, we have Tom Morris on the Jock Support Podcast. This is a guy he's been in our lives for a while. If you don't know him, you should. He's the director of athletic performance at Indiana University. He's been at Indiana University since, I believe, 2005. So it's been about 16 years at Indiana University. And before that, he was at a school in Pennsylvania, LaSalle University, for a year or two. And then before that, the old man started with the Nittany Lions over at Penn State, was a graduate assistant at Penn State, went to school at Penn State, and is originally from Pennsylvania. So without further ado, Tom Morris, welcome to the Jock Sport Podcast.
You know what? I am so excited today to be here with you two. I tell you what, I'm going to talk a lot right now because I have it already planned out that with you two co-hosting, I am not going to get many words in here. So I'm just going to ramble with a bunch of stuff right now so that I can get it out of the way. But this is an honor.
You haven't even warmed up yet.
I know.
Hey, you haven't warmed up yet.
See, there we go. It's already over.
See, this is yeah. I mean, would you do that with your athletes as a Jock supporter? Would you just say, hey, we're just going to go right into going 100%?
You're right. You know what? You brought this full circle now. You brought this full circle. Let me back up, and I'm gonna sit in here and get ready.
I mean, well, here's the thing. I want your best. Just like with our athletes, and just like Colin, when he's, athletic trainers, when they're preparing their people for the field, they don't go out before getting taped.
True.
You know what I mean?
Got to get taped.
Got to get taped. And then the other thing we got to do a little dynamic warm up. We got to get the juices flowing. Little motion is lotion.
Motion is lotion.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw some questions out at you, and I want the best answer you got. I want to know what's going on in that head of yours. So, first question, dynamic warm-up, starting off easy. If you were to spend a day as an 80s action hero, which one would it be?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But which one?
Which one? This is where I would go. And this is going to kill me that I do not know.
Are you calling Arnold Schwarzenegger the superhero?
He is a superhero in a sense. I'm gonna pick the exact movie, and that is Commando. And it's a killer for me that I do not know the name of who Arnold was in that movie, but that's who I would spend it with. I would get on the plane with him. I would be in the back. We would land that little airplane thing that lands on the water. We would come out there. He's getting dressed. I'm getting dressed, putting the knife in the bulletproof jacket type deal. We would storm the beach, and where the scenario is he killed literally 600 people. Everyone. Now I would be helping out with that, and that would be my ideal day.
Colonel John Matrix.
That's it. Yes. Thank you.
I give you 5 minutes, Tom, and then you're done.
Yeah, you're so right. I hate to agree with you on that, but you're so right.
Okay. To go on a little bit of the action hero and that Arnold-esque kind of factor, And you just with your 80s swag going on with your hair and your beard and all that. You know, you walk into a room or you come into a room and you demand presence, and there's an aura about Tom Morris when he comes into a room. If you could choose one song to play on the PA system every time you came into a room, what song is that?
It's a good one. That is a beautiful, beautiful one. Now, this is it. And I don't know why. I usually go with the scenario of whatever just pops in my head. But right now it's going Air Supply, I'm All Out of Love. And I don't know why that's there, but it's just, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. And I just know that when it comes in there, I want to get going, you know, it's something.
What do you think about
Are
that?
you about to
Colin?
have an emotional weekend? All out of love.
I know. I don't know. It's just a moment right now, you know, I don't know. I don't really have an answer why.
I love it. I love it. Air Supply. That is good. That is good. All right. We're all Jock supporters. And sometimes even, you know, family fans, they don't truly understand. They see what the coach does, like what a head coach does. They see what the athletes do, but they don't necessarily know who us people on the sidelines are and what we're doing. Describe the purpose of this job that you have to someone that's never been in athletics.
Oh, that's just jumping right in, get my head really spinning. Chris.
Yes, let's go, buddy.
Yeah. So this is how I always describe our jobs, you know, the behind the scenes of everything. We are the foundation builders. You know, I had this incredible job in the summertime growing up, and I remember getting this job, and it was to lay brick, dig the hole, lay brick, lay the cement blocks, and build the foundation to these houses. You know, and I remember sweating and just working my butt off to get this foundation set just perfect. And you know, if you know anything about a foundation, if you don't get that first layer set, every layer on top of it just gets compounded in a really negative way. And I remember taking such time with that, and then such energy to build the bricks on top of it. And then all of a sudden, we just disappeared. Like we just all of a sudden that we're bricklayers, we're the basement builders, and we're not needed. And then this big, beautiful, aesthetically pleasing home is built on top of all of our work. And so I remember leaving that going, well, this kind of sucks. Like we don't really get anything, until I came back 9 months later and I saw this big, beautiful building. But then I realized the only way that building is standing is because of my attention to detail, my work ethic, my everything that went into setting that first layer. And so when I tell people what we do, we are the basement builders. We set this foundation. We set it there with precision, with intention, and nonstop work, blood, sweat, and tears, so that those athletes could have this big, beautiful season life. That's what
I like that analogy. I really do. I think that's a good one. Do you want to know what I usually tell people strength coaches do?
Go ahead.
It's almost the same, but I use a wrecking ball analogy. We build them up and y'all break them.
Yep, that's exactly right, my man. You know what I mean?
Okay, I'm gonna put Colin on mute now.
Force mute the trader. Oh wait, listen, but when you're warming up your team, you got your dynamic warm up, you got the little stuff at the beginning, the knee pulls, the quad pulls, and then we get the sprints. Then we get the rapid fire. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple rapid fire. I want first instinct. And this is going to tell me all I need to know about the day we're going to have with Tom Morris.
Go ahead.
Right.
Let's go here.
Eggs or oat?
Oatmeal.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi. Whoa. I didn't know why I said that. Okay.
Beer or mixed drinks?
Beer.
Juice or water?
Water.
White or wheat bread?
Wheat.
Cake or donuts?
Yeah, donuts.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Chris or Colin?
Colin. Oh my God.
Thank you.
You,
and now we're warm, ladies and gentlemen. Now the game can start.
I'm sweating. I got to take this sweatshirt off.
You're a
Pepsi
dick.
really threw you. Pepsi
Way
got
through
you.
me. I would have never thought I would have said Pepsi.
I can't believe you're a soda drinker.
That's so true. Yeah.
Like, we're gonna. Are we just skating over the fact that you picked Colin over me when. Well,
You know, I think it was.
when he's your boss. I'm just saying.
Listen, I was looking at Colin. I was answering his questions. I see Colin, and then I see the picture of him off his back right shoulder, and I say, "Nope, that one. That's it." Yes. And it just double whammied me. Sorry. So
Hey, I'm all in.
I'm gonna log off now.
No.
Good. It's a good warm up, gentlemen.
I like it. Although you did say donut as well, huh?
I did, yeah. I would not go back on that. I'm a big.
You had a lot of gluten in those questions, and Tom doesn't do well with gluten.
No,
I've never met a carb I didn't like. So
I love them all. They just don't like me very much. But a donut, GI. Ooh. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Chris, where you at right now?
I am in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So we took
the great state.
5.5 hour bus ride up to Ann Arbor, staying at the Graduate Hotel, and we just got back from practice. We play tonight at 6:00. So yeah, we're already ready to roll.
What's your preferred, like, do you have a hotel that you're like, this hotel at this place is heaven?
The Graduate at Minnesota.
The Graduate at Minnesota is the go-to?
I just like the vibe of it, and I think it was built to be a Graduate. I don't know what was there before because that whole area got built up around the new Gophers football stadium, but they have, like, you walk in pre-COVID and it's kind of in the middle of campus. So when you come in, you're off a flight and stuff, you come in and there's just a bunch of co-eds studying, and it's like this, it's got a union feel, like the Indiana Memorial Union. It's got that feel when you walk into it, but it's a hotel. And it's a nice spot. It's close to the arena. I do like that hotel.
Did you guys, when you interviewed at IU, did you stay the night?
Yes.
Where did you stay?
We stayed in that little Hampton that I don't even think is still up right now. I think they just tore it down.
I think I was in the Holiday Inn, the one where they do the
Coaches
radio
thing?
show.
Yeah.
Well, how about this though, Colin? Where did the trainers take you for your interview dinner? Because I know where the strength coach go.
So I was with the one and only Craig Tweedy.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to, I'm not going to remember. It was across the street from that place I never went to, Sports. It had the burger with the peanut butter and the jalapenos.
Oh, Scotty's.
We went to Scotty's.
Now Yogi's. Yeah. See, the strength staff knows how to live life. Like,
yeah, we sure
you
do.
trainers, you guys. Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of flavor and a lot of personality, and where do we go, Tom?
We go to Malibu.
Yeah, we do.
Malibu quite often. Yes.
The Malibu Grill.
Yes, sir. And it's not even that we just do Malibu. We do Malibu appetizers. We do Malibu little pre-dinner, then dinner, then of course dessert. And there's a thing there called the mud pie that is.
Do you sit in the foxhole?
We do not, but we should.
We usually get that front corner table.
Mm-hmm.
We like being by the window.
Tom, did he say that you started at Indiana in 2005?
Yes, sir.
So you were at Indiana University when I was a junior in high school.
Well, we did already say how old I am here, Colin.
Is that why you have the grays here and here?
It is. And it's interesting. I live a pretty stressful life, and these little gray patches come out. Now, this is the really cool thing about this. Is this gray right here? I have my beard trimmed at a 6. And so at a 6, I only get 2 patches. But if this even pops up to a 7, it just keeps going. The rest of it really white. So, I don't know what the future is, but right now I'm dealing with these 2 and this level, and it's tough.
You ever see Harry Potter?
Believe it or not, no, I have not actually.
Well, the guy in charge has a big white beard. That's your future, sir.
Colin,
Just so you know.
we grew up on Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Commando, Rambo, but not Harry Potter.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Yes,
That's a clear distinction.
Yeah.
Between strength coaches and athletic trainers.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Lord of the Rings, but I don't think he reads.
Oh God.
Only research.
Okay. But 2005, come to Indiana. Give me a little background up until that point. Like, what got you into strength and conditioning? What got you into fitness and performance up until 2005? Where were you at?
Yeah. So basically left high
Wait,
school.
I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna jump in.
Oh, here we go.
You're gonna explain this, but within this story, because I've been in that room and there was a lot of stories that came out of that room. I want to know, when you walk into the Penn State weight room, what does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? Like, could you put yourself back there just by, like, I go into the indoor track when we had the Gladstein satellite weight room, and you smell it. And it took me back to 2007 and Josh conditioning or volleyball or basket doing the 5 a.m. swim circuits. Like, can you put yourself back in it? I want to feel what it's like to be in that room. But on Colin's boring question, go ahead.
Oh, you two are awesome. I love it. I love it.
See how he treats me?
Yeah, I love it, man. It's good. I mean, we do got to say you are his intern. I mean, I forgot about all that,
Was
right. You've graduated and moved on, but let me go. So yeah, so graduated high school. I go to junior college. Junior college is there with intent to kind of think about possibly doing the world of football, continue to keep doing it. Arrogant, stupid, young kid, totally naive to the fact that trying to play college football is going to be overwhelming. Spent just a small amount of time at the junior college and then moved up to Penn State and quickly got smacked with reality that to play football at that level, you've got to dedicate a lot. You've got to be, you've got to not, you couldn't have taken that big lapse in that break. So that didn't work out, but what it did do was it opened and exposed me to what the world of strength and conditioning is all about. And I found out about this being a career. So that day, number one, when I found out about what this field is, I went into the weight room, and you go into this it's actually a little bit less. It's probably like an 18,000 square foot room. Mammoth. I mean, the smell of the newness of equipment, but there's almost this pungent smell of just work that I've never been part of before. Like, that sweat, that dedication, that kind of detail came through in smell and a visual sense. It was just incredible. And at that point, my heart just started racing as far as like, what is this? I got to see. So I talked to the head strength coach at that point, and we come up with this idea. If you want to volunteer with us. And well, that was it. I volunteered for about the first 4 hours, just observing a workout. And then he told me, let's go through a workout. And then he took me through a workout, and long story short, it only lasted about 20 minutes. And I laid there puking, crawled myself back into a locker room and looked and said, man, I don't know what that was, but that was not lifting. And with that same misery was the most incredible feeling of, I need to try that again. I need to go back and I want to see what this is all about. And so from there, that was it. I jumped into it full throttle and started volunteering hours and hours and hours, and did that all through undergrad, worked with all the different teams at Penn State, then got a graduate assistant at Penn State with football, worked there 24/7. That led to a job at LaSalle University in Philadelphia. Quickly went to LaSalle and was hit with reality that being in the Big Ten, being around big time athletics is way different than smaller school stuff. And only spent about 6 months there and was able to get this job at Indiana. And so day one, though, I come out here and Indiana, Penn State, we have, it's this big mammoth.
Go ahead. Yep. Go ahead.
And I come in here to this.
He wants to.
Yeah. He's supposed to be Penn State.
I'm going comparisons here. But I come into this historic basketball program, like Indiana basketball. And I come through the door of where they're training. And when I open up the door, this intense heat comes smashing me in the face because the air conditioning doesn't work in the weight room. And then followed by the heat was this smell of mold and just this, I don't even know how to put it into words, but it was tough. And
it was good for the immune system.
Yeah, it sure was.
You went from pungent smell of work to just pungent smell of shit.
pungent smell of shit. Like, just like, man, this is not good for the lungs. And then on the ground was just carpet. It was hot, moist. It was just everything not real ideal to what I was thinking this was going to look like.
I miss that room so much.
Yeah. And
Anybody have any pictures of the assembly hall weight room? I keep hearing about this place, this legendary place.
So we've got some, I think I have some pictures I can share on our Insta from back in the day, but I also have a nice little nugget of one Tim Garl and Frank Eckstein had the Bob Knight Way book.
Oh yeah.
And so before you got to that weight room, you had to go past the boiler room, but there was a storage closet. And in that storage closet, the Indiana basketball team won so many like tournaments throughout the years that there was no room for their trophies. So there was a storage room full of these old trophies. It'd be like the 1982 Jacksonville invite or something, all these trophies. And then there was a box. There were two boxes. One was kind of moldy and water damage, but there was one like gleaming and gold light box. And you open that up, and on the front there is the Bob Knight Way, written by Frank Eckstein and Tim Garl. And there's pictures of back in the day how they would train the men's basketball team circa 92. I think Chris Reynolds, Calbert Cheney might have been in the book. Matt Nover was in the book. And then there's Tim Garl. And he's still a gorgeous man, but back in the day, he was a lady killer.
How did you not show me that book when I worked in Indiana?
Yeah, we're gonna have to pull that on. We might have to just go through that entire book. We're gonna take an episode and just devote it to that book.
You know, Chris, remember the videos too? There was a bunch of the videos there in there too. You know, and to the point of what Chris was saying, when he says a storage closet, this storage closet was a closet, but the whole roof of it, like, it flooded many, many times. So these old historic, Indiana Hoosier basketball championship trophies. I mean, I'm talking like 3 feet tall, friggin'
the big ones,
just all thrown in a closet because it was just overflow from all of the success they've had. And that was my opening thing. That was it. Came into it and went, oh my God, this is a little bit different than what I was anticipating. But nonetheless, man, the stories that come out of that room and the success that we've had out of that room was truly world-class. It was a lot of fun, and a lot of different ideas of how to train came out of there, and it was awesome.
How did you get the job at Indiana? Was there a connection? Was it just luck?
Was it who you knew?
Yeah.
Thick dude.
So when I was a graduate assistant at Penn State, it came up. A friend of mine, Josh Edson, we call him Thick Dude. He's a little round guy that heart of gold, love him. But he called me up.
We say round because he's got a bald head. The guy is like 5 feet wide and can bench 600 pounds.
Yeah, with one arm. Like the guy is just unbelievable. But he called me when I was a graduate assistant and asked if I'd be interested in coming out to Indiana. There's a job open, and I'm like, nah, Josh. I didn't know what Indiana was, but I was huge into the mountains. I just wanted to go outside. I wanted to mountain bike. I wanted to climb. I wanted to spend a lot of times outdoor. And I was never to Indiana before. And the only thing I could picture is just this. Man, I'm gonna pass on this one. So then I end up getting the job at LaSalle. My wife and I, our place gets broken into for the second time. We have all this stuff going on. The chaos of living Center City, Philadelphia.
What were you driving back then?
Yeah, times were tough, man. I driving a purple neon. You know what I mean? Like, as a guy in a purple neon driving down Broad Street in Philadelphia, you sit there and kind of, you just put your head down and hope for the best. And so
you don't realize the back in the day, the car for the young strength coach was the Dodge Neon. We've got another guy on staff, Dustin Snyder, who had a white Dodge Neon with Tweety Bird floor mats.
Yeah.
Dodge Neon, man. We'll get you places.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all was getting paid like trainers then, huh?
Sure were. Yeah. So, and then with that, like, to finish that story, it was just, I'm at LaSalle, and then for the second time, our place was broken into. My wife and I both said, we need to figure this out. And Josh called back that very night and said, hey, that job's open again. Would you reconsider it? And 100% got on a plane 2 days later, got accepted the job right then and there. And literally at that point, we were done at LaSalle, and we both moved home because it was so just get us out of the city. So, yep. And here we are.
My first
Nice,
experience
nice.
with Tom was, I think, 2007. Women's basketball is conditioning in Assembly Hall. They're going at 6 a.m. So I show up at 5:30. Tom shows up. He had upgraded to that point to a Chevy Trailblazer, and he walked in and he sees me, and it's one of those like, it's an intern. I don't know him. Blah blah blah. I'm just gonna keep walking. And we walk down together to the Assembly Hall floor, and I'm geeked up because I've been from Indiana my entire life. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm on the floor. This is awesome. And then there's the women's basketball conditioning. And he gave me one job. He's at one end of the floor. He's on the I think the banner side of the floor. It's gonna be the north side of the floor. So he put me at the south side on the baseline. And he says, raise your hand if they miss a line. And so they would go and they would run, and I would raise my hand. And then they would go and they're like, who would miss a line? I would raise my hand. And it got to the point because I'm like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this good. I'm to the point where he like gave me this look and he starts like motioning down. He's like, stop raising your hand. Stop. We gotta keep going. And I was like, that's Tom. There we go.
Yeah.
Those are good times with that women's basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Yeah,
I'm drinking a smoothie, by the way. Well, there's some smoothie stories from back in the day.
What flavor is that? Peanut Packer? What does it say?
Peanut paradise with whey protein. Whey.
Yeah, peanut paradise. Yeah, but
Peanut paradise.
peanut paradise.
Yeah, but Tom's got a good smoothie story from back in the day.
I sure do, actually. Yeah, you touched on the women's basketball thing, and I do have to say, women's basketball is just, I love it, absolutely love it. But it has its fair share of emotional highs and lows, and this is pretty cool because
Basketball in general, but yeah,
exactly right. It's just not, it's sport in general. It's just there, but we were smack dab in the middle of a really bad season. We're not playing well, but it was only amplified by some of the off-court stuff and everything else that was going on. So we go to Minnesota, and we are in Minnesota, and it's only 2 minutes into the game and we're down 10-0. 4 minutes into the game we're down like 20-2. Never seen anything like it. By the end of this game, it's like 75-10. Like, it's the most absurd score you've ever seen in Big Ten play. And so obviously there's this, people are little fired up, little razzled up, and we leave. And at that point, we're spending the night in Minnesota, and then going to fly.
Oh
out.
no,
Uh-huh.
no,
that's
so
the
you can't
worst.
escape it. Yeah. So so because we're going to fly out, we're going to go to Nebraska the next day, and so then it becomes this thing that was already planned. Let's go to Mall of America, and so we did that. We went over to Mall of America. Everybody's still
to
quiet.
celebrate the L.
Not to celebrate, but just to do something. Get them out of the hotel. This is already planned. We're already in Minnesota. Let's follow through and let's do this. And so we go to Mall of America, and we're going through this, and everybody's quiet, but everybody quickly disperses and goes away. And we reconvene right after, like before we're going to leave, and the entire team is there, and a couple of them have smoothies in their hand, and it wasn't like they had even chocolate covered smoothies. They just had smoothies, and I could see the head coach looking, and I could tell the intensity is getting a little high, a little bit. And I'm like, okay, do I do something? Like, what do I do? Like, this is, and I could, that she's getting high, I'm getting like anxious. I'm not knowing what to do, but I put my head down because I'm cowardly. I was just like, I hope I don't yell at for this. And we all make our way to the bus. And so we get on the bus. She gets on last, and she sits down, and she, says, Coach T, which that's how they called me. Did you come up here? And I said, yeah, sure. And she said,
That's never good.
Yeah. And
That's never good on the bus.
No, never. She says, do you think they deserve smoothies after that play? And I'm like, no, I don't. No, I don't.
No way.
I
Can
think
you believe it?
I think that's awful. They should never. No, I mean, I don't think they ever deserve smoothies. They should just.
Who told them to get smoothies?
Yeah. So she says, well, do you think you could make them go away? She's like, if this was my team, I would make them, I would never allow that. And I went, whose team? But okay. And so I'm like, damn it. So I go forward and I grab this trash bag from the bus, and I go to the back and I hand it out, and everybody starts chucking their smoothies in. And I have this one young lady, bless her heart, freshman, and she looks at me and she says, "I'll throw it away if you give me my $3 for it." And I'm like, "Throw the effing smoothie in the bag." And she's like, $3. And I'm like, "Throw the effing." She eventually did. And I walked back to the front of the bus and tied the bag and just put it there. And then we just drove away. And I'm telling you this, later on that night, that little basketball player came right to my bedroom and she said, "Are you going to pay my $3?" Like,
Yes.
I'm like, you. So,
Good
but
for
again,
her.
that I know.
Hey, yeah, she wants her money, man. That's good per diem.
She wanted her
Yep.
money. But again, I guess there's stories like that. There's ideas, when you think you're signing up to be a strength coach and you start traveling, that's what we do now. Strength and conditioning trainers. Sometimes you're put in these situations where you just sit there going, I don't even know what the win out of this is right now. I'm going to try and make someone have a smile on their face and not want to kill each other. So yeah, they were pretty epic. Great time of life.
So you bring up an interesting thing that I think is splitting at least the support community from what I hear, right? You have some athletic trainers who also have to do the travel. You have
i.e.
some
the athletic
trainers,
training world. He's going to go in the athletic training world here. Go ahead.
Correct. I'm an athletic trainer, so I'm going to speak on athletic training. I apologize. Although I am studying for my CSCS, so I'll be one of you soon.
Of course you are.
God help.
And my NSCA sports science, the new one, I'm going to get that too. So I could basically do y'all's job, right? I'm kidding.
At least you can start doing something more than taping ankles.
Excuse me. Who applies the ice? Thank you.
Plastic wrap.
Who stirs the Gatorade? Thank you. You're right. Everyone underestimates who stirs the Gatorade until you get a bad batch. And then all of a sudden, everyone wants to know who the trainer is.
I'll tell you what, that is a big deal, especially on the road. You get a bad batch of Gatorade, it can ruin a whole trip.
Whole trip. I'm pretty sure that's how the Gatorade dump started. They said, this is trash, dump. And the coach happened to be there.
Yeah. You're like, that'd be pretty cool if now when he won, we could throw it on him too. Let's do this.
This Gatorade sucks. I'm going to go dump it on you.
Yeah.
It's always the one player too that doesn't get along with the coach. That's like, let's get this guy. Like, you just won the game. And the player's like, we're going to get him.
I love it.
But what do you think about that? What do you think about support staff members? Kind of, do you think everyone should only be in their own little niche, or do you think that they should lend a hand? At Clemson, the swim coach called me the assistant director of ops because I got to pick all the restaurants, right? And I'd have a conversation with the GA and be like, I'm not picking restaurants. That's not my job. I said, hey man, I'm here to help the team succeed. And I think that's part of it. I think it's part of stepping up and doing it, especially on the road.
Probably had some really good breakfast bagel sandwiches.
Nothing like a good breakfast bagel sandwich. Colin.
And when you pick the restaurant, you always like it.
Mm-hmm.
Colin, I agree with you. I think when you're on the road, I think when you're doing that, there's a team aspect to everything. Not anybody it's a collaborative approach. It's if Colin's good at picking a restaurant, he has that. Do it to the best of your ability. I think however you could help the program get better, do it. And that for me is even with that smoothie story. It was uncomfortable. It was whatever. But there was a crazy thing in my head that I was kind of appreciative that I was the point person for that. Like I was looked at. I wasn't the guy just traveling and not doing whatever. She took it. She put me into that position where I was the one that was going to do it. And in a crazy way, I was like, man, that makes me kind of proud that I am that person that's doing it. But I agree with it. I think when you're in a situation of being a strength coach, we have strength coaches here that are going out and fixing different pieces of equipment. Chris puts together crazy stuff on, through social media and stuff like that. Like, I just think if you have the ability to do more, then do more, and if someone's going to put you into that place where you can make the entire situation better, then do it. That's what we're here for. Because the other part is not knowing where that's going to lead, because it's crazy to think. Sometimes I've heard crazy stories where same deal, director of operations all of a sudden is put in helping stir Gatorade, finds out about doing a different job completely. And before you know it, it opens the door to something just because of a different network or whatever may occur. So I'm all about doing whatever the heck I can. It's just all of it, I think, is a big opportunity. So take advantage of it.
I will say I have been extremely spoiled being in the NFL, being in some bigger football programs, that I do not have to endure right now the post-loss bus ride. I luckily get to take a bus ride to the airport and we go straight in the plane. We only play, one game every 7 days, hopefully, most of the time. So we don't have that trip from Minnesota to Michigan where we got to sit on a bus and watch film of the loss. I'm a novice to that.
Yeah, and that's like a whole different level too. It's when you're taking those long bus rides and you finally get home after 5 or 6 hours, and coach is just like, nope, we're going to sit on this bus and figure this out. And nothing's going to get figured out on that bus, but for the next 2 hours, you sit there while people try to just do something, and it's a tough deal. But again, though, at the end of the day, it's such a unique environment. It's such a even in the harshest of times and the craziest of times, it's still so much fun. Like, you look back on it and go, I wouldn't trade any of my first years with 8 years I spent with women's basketball. And there was a lot of high and low to that, but it taught me so much. I did so many different jobs. I just did it. It was an awesome experience. And in the moment, I wanted to pull all of this hair right out because it was quite challenging.
I think you hit on a good point, Tom, with, there's a lot of adversity in athletics, and a lot of what we do as support staff to the athletes, there's the X's and O's of strength and conditioning and how to tailor a meal and how to, disseminate data and, how to make the Gatorade and whatever it is. But I think a huge portion of our job is the mentorship of athletes through adversity. One, providing adversity to them, which we get to do on a daily basis, but also when they do go through adversity, being able to, because coaches go through it too, and you're sitting on the bus and, sometimes you're called out, and it's how the kids look to you and how you're reacting to those things. But then also these kids, it's a highly competitive atmosphere that we have on a daily basis that we've got to help these kids through and help them navigate. And you touched on it earlier when, you were trying to become a collegiate football player and the strain and the stress that comes along with that. And sometimes it can be overwhelming. And you had a point in your life, you had a life-changing moment about 9 years ago. If people don't know Tom Morris, he was in I'll let you talk about it, but what changed from, who you were as a GA at Penn State to how you started as a strength coach and how you coached athletes, and when you were a triathlete and a ultra runner and adventure racer, and then post 2012, how has that shifted and aided you in your day job of coaching athletes?
Yeah. So let me, I'll kind of unpack a little bit of it and start off by just kind of what happened. Yeah. So up until 2012, we already came to Bloomington in 2005 as like an ex 230-pound football player, bit by that endurance bug that flutters all around Indiana or around Bloomington. Even Chris got bit by that thing a couple of years ago, but all of a sudden go from 230 to this 200-pound guy down to like 175 and just addicted to just high level endurance stuff. And in 2012, I was going to take this to a different level. I wanted to really be as great as I possibly can be. And during a training ride on May 17th, I was involved in a mountain bike accident, and I went around this corner. I smashed a rock. All of a sudden, I found myself flying through the air, kind of this head over heel deal, with my head just racing towards the ground. And in that moment, it was just this crazy feeling of almost like Matrix. I could see out of the corner of my eyes, just like leaves falling, slow motion. I could see grains of dirt as my head got closer and closer, and then smack, nail the ground with the front part of my head. And at that point, it literally sent electricity through my body. I somersault all the way around, land flat on my back, and this journey kind of began. 3.5 hours of laying on the ground. Luckily, 2 riders came by and helped me out. But those 3.5 hours, I couldn't move. I couldn't move my hands. I couldn't move my body. I couldn't move anything. And luckily, 3.5 hours, those 2 riders, they got me help. But from that point, I was diagnosed with having a C6, C7 vertebrae break. So the easiest way to say that for anybody that doesn't know is I broke my neck. That break left me as a quadriplegic. So all 4 limbs severely impaired or not working at all. And so for a year of my life, I literally fought to just gain the littlest of things back. The things we take all for granted is being able to pinch a finger or take care of yourself or any of these things. And I worked to gain my independence back, and I worked to gain my job back, and I worked to even gain sport back in a sense. The thing that took it all away, I was able to gain back in about that year's time frame. But when I came back to work, I came back to being a strength coach. And as we know, we're expected to teach people how to run, to jump, to move. And we could all agree that I am not the most, I'm not the biggest poster child for that. I don't really fit the mold of it. So I had to change my entire way of going about doing things. And that was a deep dive into not only just the superficial layers of how I was going to do this, as far as like using technology or whatever, but kind of who I was, who I am as a person, what my values are, what my character is, and how I'm going to be able to live like this and make sure that I'm still impacting others. Because my identity was wrapped up in movement before. I used to be able to run the 2 mile with the men's soccer team and beat most of them. I used to be able to bike in the most extreme races. I used to be able to go out and play 7-on-7 football and hold my own with some of these guys. And now it's all gone. Now it's who I was before. My identity, my life, my everything. It's changed, and it's changed in a way that I had a really deep dive into now who this new version of me is. And so throughout that process, I really started trying to put together how I'm going to coach. And I came up with the superficial layers, but then I started really thinking of who I am as a person and how I want to teach people to live. And what it always comes back to is valuing the day, the moment, teaching kids, teaching people that the only thing we have is the present moment. The only thing we have is the ability to get better in this moment. All of our fears, all of our failures, they were either in the past or ahead. But in the present moment, we got controllables in that. And so the X's and O's of strength training become more than just the X's and O's, because they become the foundation of all growth. If we're going to change, if we're going to live to our lives to the fullest, if we're going to be able to achieve, we've got to take more value and put it in the present moment. And for me, that's where my mind shift switched into taking what I needed to do, but instilling a belief in the people that are around me that you only got right now. You only got this present moment, so value it and maximize it. And I'd say that is the biggest mindset shift for me, because it showed me how precious life is. I mean, our reality is this could change any given second. Life can change. So just understand what you have right now, this time that we're so kind of blessed with, to take the biggest value that we can with it.
Tom, do you remember when you and I met?
I don't. I mean, I kind of do, but I don't remember the exact moment.
So, first of all, I appreciate you telling us that story. I have spoken to you before about it, 1 or 2 times, and I've known you for some time. So I know it's a personal story that you tell. I know you tell it often to people who request it, but I really appreciate you telling that. But I'll tell you the story about how we met. You wheeled into the athletic training room and wanted to use the Normatex. And I was the newest member of the athletic training staff at the time. I didn't know who you were. I saw you come in, and Craig Tweedy said, "Hey, will you help him use the Normatex?" Now, I did a rotation at a physical therapy clinic in college, but I had never dealt with any kind of long-term paralysis patient. And I don't know what they're called. I should know. I apologize. But when you're your knee and your leg kind of reflexes back or bounces back, and they get a little rigid, and it's hard to maneuver your legs when you've been sitting in a chair for a long time. So they make the young new trainer hook Tom Morris up to Normatec boots, and you just look at him like, what is going? His legs are flopping left and right. They have all kinds of reactions. You think you're hurting him, and he's like, "No, come on, straighten him. I don't want to hurt him." It was a very stressful environment, and I then said, I hooked it up. I sat down in my office, and I said, "Who is this? Who is this motherfucker?" And they said, "That's the strength coach." I said, "We got a strength coach in a wheelchair? Like, what?" And, I never thought about that until you just told that story of my first impression of you. And I got to say, I couldn't have been more wrong, because my practice was only bettered by working with you, right? Seeing you deal with these athletes on a daily basis while in a wheelchair, to me was like, you take somebody, a regular adult, and go through an accident like that, it affects their lives greatly. But you were an adult, a professional whose job was human movement and performance, right? You know more about the human body than most individuals. So I always thought it was an interesting thing about you going through that rehab process, knowing, hey, this is how nerves repair. Hey, this is how muscles repair. Did your knowledge of your body help you in the process? Do you think it hurt you mentally because you knew so much?
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you, Colin. Now I do, when you told that story, I do remember that day. And
yeah, it was stressful.
I remember.
I remember that day too, because I think he came back to the weight room and he's like, "We just hired some like dick as a athletic trainer for football. Stay away from that guy."
Yeah. Yep. I remember you just grabbing my legs and trying. I'm like, just push him down. And you're just like, yeah, I do remember that. So it's funny because to your point, yes, it was crazy. Knowing, there's a lot of scenarios, even if I was a strength coach, but then I worked first hand in hand with a guy named Adam Talaferro, who at Penn State, when I first got there, Adam is number one corner in the country. This freshman, that's a freak, one of the best athletes I've ever seen. He comes up against Ohio State, puts his head, bad tackle into the guy's knee. He's out. C6, C7 vertebrae break, and he's paralyzed. 9 months later, he runs onto the field. And if you want to see an inspiring thing, you should see that. It'll send chills through you. He runs out for this opening game. And so I knew a little bit about this, but I didn't know the firsthand what paralysis is. I see it, and they call them this miracle. And I'm like, well, that's cool, but I didn't know. And so as soon as this happens to me, I go, man, I need to talk to Adam. And I was able to. But then we start breaking down like, all right, well, Adam did this. This is the way the body works. Like, where is this going to be? And I knew Adam walked or ran in 9 months, and I knew his steps. Like, I knew his process. And when 2 months hit and I wasn't anywhere near Adam was, I remember thinking, well, shit, like what's going? 3 months hit, and I'm nowhere near Adam. Adam's already moving a leg. And I'm barely moving fingers at that point. And it made me kind of dive back into the literature and figure out, well, what does this mean? Like, what does this mean? Is this just how it is? And what I found, unlike other injuries like ACLs or anything, like the time frame on an ACL might be, 7, 8, 9 months, or it could be 10 or 11 months. Paralysis is literally like 30 days or 30 years. Like, there's just an extent, and everybody literally looks and goes, I don't know. And so I had to always keep that in the back of my mind, but then I had to work on the littlest of things. But then the idea that you were just saying, like knowing the human body and how it moves, PTs are incredibly smart, but sometimes they observe something and think that they know from a quick blink or a quick snapshot of it. And there's a time that we were in, I think I was telling Chris this or something, but we were doing this clinic and I was the subject, and they had me reach out to grab a can of soda. And so I went to grab a can of soda, but my thumb, what is this movement? It doesn't articulate. It doesn't open up. Like this one opens up real well. The thumb, yes, that. So I went to reach out, and to make my hand go around it, I had to kind of go at it like this. And so they stopped the whole thing, and they're like, all right, well, Tom has, obviously can't get the thumb out there, but he also has no supination of the hand. He doesn't, of the arm and all this stuff. And they went through this whole diagnosis that just wasn't true. So I stopped them in a respectful way, but I told them, I'm like, no, that's not it at all. It's just the thumb doesn't work. So I have to be able to, the supination of the hand is totally fine, but it's more the thumb. My point being is there's many things that happen along this way of what's going on in the human body. And if you didn't know what they were even talking about by the naming of it or how the body biomechanically is supposed to move, I guarantee you could go down a rabbit hole that wasn't there. And it's only helped me out. On some of the stuff I got kind of stuck on, it's kind of a long-winded answer to it. Some of the stuff I got stuck on didn't keep me stuck too much, but knowing the body and how it was going to work, having guys like Chris and all the people around, a buddy of ours, Rick, knowing he's done the most extensive research on creatine. I swear he bought me every creatine on the market just to say it was showing to help out with neural connectivity again and stuff. So it did help me out. Long-winded answer to that though.
Yeah, and I think that takes me in the next question. This actually came from social media. We asked people if they had any questions for Tom, and one that kind of goes in this fashion. They asked, because you were an athlete before, and like we talked about, triathlete, ultra racer, bencher racer, and they're asking, what adaptive sports or activities do you now personally enjoy? And then is there any advice mentally and physically for people in these situations for trying to get back into recreational sports and fitness and all of those things they did pre-injury?
Yeah, so now I'm back. Obviously, I'm back on a hand cycle now, so I've been able to gain that idea of cycling back. Got back into kind of kayaking a little bit, and then even got out with skiing and being able to be active all over again. And
you're off road now too.
Off-roading now, and that's
tell us about that.
I mean, I'm telling you, dude, Bowhead Reach. I'm plugging it. These guys are unreal. The machine that they invented is straight up incredible, but it's given me freedom that I've never felt before. Well, I've not felt in 9 years, and it's truly incredible. But it's like everything when you're trying something new is you got to be patient. For me, it was like getting back involved in sport, but sport's going to be different. So my mindset, I want to get out there and I want to push and I want to crank away like I did on a bike. Well, if you've ever done anything on your arms don't want you to do that. And so all of a sudden you're burning. And if you just kind of abandon ship before you actually are able to make those gains or adapt to it, all of a sudden you quit on it before it ever started. But that's so true of a million things that are out there. It's like anything new presents its kind of sometimes overwhelming challenges, but you just got to stick with it. Get through the heavy friction, because the heavy friction is always up front in any kind of learning curve. And for me with adaptive sports, that's it. Every single time, no matter if I try skiing or hand cycling or even the off-roading, it's like the initial phase of it, I almost want to quit. And I know at that point, if I want to quit, I generally have picked something that is really going to work out well for me. Kind of live by that thing. If you're wanting to quit, if you're not wanting to quit, you're not going hard enough. And so for me, knowing that this is when it's really, really hard, the upside is going to be good. But I would suggest this to be patient, but never, ever quit. Just consistently keep working on it, and it always gets better.
As an athletic trainer, I always want my athletes to get better, right? I want everybody to get healed. I want everyone to be okay. And the unfortunate truth is that sometimes that's just not going to happen, right? You see a lot of guys that have ACL injuries and they get that nerve in the back of the knee. They have drop foot the rest of their life. Yeah. You see a lot of people, have some injuries that you cannot play again from. What do you think, or having been through an experience where you don't know if it's going to get better, like you said, 3 months or 30 years, do you have advice for clinicians dealing with athletes like that, or athletes going through something like that, athletes who have that injury, who have that identity taken from them? Because you kind of reclaimed your identity, I believe, You reclaimed your ability to do what you were going to do, and you found your identity and made it work. But I also know that it probably could have gone a different direction, right? I'm sure there were days where you were like, fuck this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. And so I'll attempt to answer it by this. I think with any kind of change you always have a mourning process. So from the simplest things of failing a test in college to anytime there's a failure or adversity or something that is changed for you, you go through this process of mourning. And a big part of mourning is dealing with the entire process itself, understanding it, but then being able to accept it. Accepting it is a biggest gift. I think accepting it might be one of the biggest gifts that I've ever been given, to be able to sit here and go, all right, I accept that this happens. Because by accepting it, it puts you in the world of controlling things again. So it's the acceptance that allows you to start seeing the controllables all over again. So when I laid in the hospital originally, I laid there with that mentality of like, man, this is crazy. This is overwhelming. This is a lot. And I struggled with it because I was sitting there thinking of the past, sitting there thinking of the future, but I wasn't living in the present. And in the present is the only place that you could accept. And not to get too deep on you with this, but everybody goes through a mourning process with it, and everyone's timeline is going to be different. And so PTs have always taught me, and the best PTs I had were just supportive. They sat there, and when I was having a shitty day, they were empathetic. They didn't sit there trying to tell me anything besides put an arm around you and say nothing some days. It was just, they were there. I don't know if Chris was one of the guys that was with me so much. I mean, that guy showed up for me on 4th of July when everybody's out partying and stuff. He shows up in the hospital with this big cooler of food and beer, which we weren't supposed to have. We watched it from the 10th, watched fireworks from the 10th floor. And I still don't know anything that he said. I don't know anything throughout the process. You're just there. It's just because when people go through trauma, when people go through bad times, you can't tell them anything. You just got to be there to support. It's about a team being around you. And so that's what I had in that process. And that process allowed me to come to terms and say, this is life right now. What can I control? Because you can control everything. You always get better. If you choose to get better, you're going to get better. That doesn't mean you're going to get back to living a dream of NFL. But when you accept the fact of what happens, you're able to gain back what you could start working on again. And so that's where I was. Mentality was, don't rush the process of coming up with being able to sit there and go, all right, we got to move forward now. That will come, and that will guaranteed happen. But just realize that everything gets better if you choose to make it better. It's just a matter of you saying, this is it. This is where I'm going to go. This is what I'm going to be. And I'm going to move in that direction. And that's just a mentality that I think needs to be practiced. I mean, that's resilience in a nutshell. It's that ability to bounce back and go. But everybody's time frame is just so much different on there that there's not a one molded thing. But as far as the outside looking in person, I'd always say that it's the empathy of people being around and just caring and being there and showing that support. Because quite frankly, for me during this accident, I couldn't fail. I couldn't fail because of the fact is I had people that were there physically there with me. I had text messages. I had people writing in. There was too much energy. There was too much people sitting there going, man, we got you. No one's telling me any words of wisdom. They're just there. And there's something about a team, a culture that's there that motivates and continues to keep pushing there. So that's how it was my whole entire process from the initial all the way till today. It's every day. If I have a bad day, I got these guys around me that they don't need to say anything. It's just, we have good energy. We know what we want, and we're going to continue to keep getting there.
A lot of people hit those adverse times in their life and they don't have that support system, or they can't pull themselves up by their bootstraps and just, grind through it. And I think we've had these discussions a lot over the years about how, this happened to you, but it defines you in a sense, but you didn't let it drive where you wanted to go with your life. Like you decide what you want to do. And there's no better poster child for dealing with adversity, positivity, working through that. What are you doing now with all the lessons that you've learned? What are you doing now to affect other people with all those lessons that you've learned over this, this journey that you've had?
Yeah. So this is a great question too, because this one has a couple layers to it, but I'll try and keep it brief. When my down times, when everything that was really overwhelming and just felt like the weight of the world was on me, I always looked at having a little bit of gratitude of what I did have. I always looked at to my right was always Krista, my wife. And then I looked to the other support, the team that was around me. And I just had the most gratitude. I even looked into like, you have great insurance, like start seeing the value in that. Yeah, you can't walk, but you don't have to worry about the food that's coming to you, and seeing the gratitude in it really energized me. But then the second part of it was paying it forward. Even when I was in the hospital and I'm feeling down, I remember getting out of bed and Krista would push me down the hallway and I just go in other people's rooms, and to be able to go in there and have a conversation with someone that maybe didn't have that support or people around, and you could put a smile on their face. It didn't matter how down I was. If I could put a smile or help another person, all of a sudden I'm out of this hole. Like it's a selfish thing on my part by helping others, but it literally, I was doing it to lift me out of this dark place. And what I found is that's the power in us. That's the power in life right now. That's why coaching is such a powerful, admirable field, because when you do it not for the paycheck and you do it for all these right reasons of helping others because you selfishly know it's going to help you, God, that's such a beautiful thing. And so for me, we've gotten really, new life, new normal. We're at a point right now where we could start giving back and start helping others. And we did this, about 2 years after the accident with the Tom's Team charity. And just briefly on here, Tom's Team was created, well, by all of you guys. Like you all said, this team around, let's unite each other with this orange band. And we call it Tom's Team. And that was this support system that helped me out after the accident. 2 years later, it's like, well, let's take Tom's Team and now let's start giving back. And so we did that, partnered up with a friend in Louisville and some others. And we were able to raise, it's almost about $125,000 right now for people with adaptive equipment and to be able to work out and do stuff. But the project.
Wow, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just,
that's awesome.
And you just see what it does for people. You see, by giving people that don't have that support or financial means, you give them $5,000 to be able to say, hey, they're going to be able to cover their housing for rehab for the next 2 or 3 months. I mean, it's unreal what that does. I mean, that's just.
If people wanted to get involved with this, where would they go?
So if you go to Tom Morris for oh my God, my mouth, it's going a million miles an hour here. If you go to Tom Morris Performance, there's a link on this right now that says Project Can, and Project Can is our newest project, and that's devoted to getting these pieces of adaptive equipment, getting these pieces of accessible pieces of equipment into the hands of people to be able to get back out into Mother Nature, to be able to go out and the father, the mother, to be able to go out in the backyard and have a campfire with their son or daughter, to just experience the life that they always knew. Well, guess what? Technology is here, and technology allows us to do that. Unfortunately, though, it's expensive. So if you go to Tom Morris Performance, you go under Project Can. This isn't officially launched yet, but we've already collected a couple thousand in donations. We're going to launch this here in the upcoming months, and we're going to raise a lot of money. And the hope is we're going to raise it to get these different pieces of equipment in the hands of people that have mobility needs. And it's pretty special.
Wow, man, that's great. And I'll tell you, you've really paid dividends for me, even in my current place of work. I don't think anybody can appreciate the fear on my face that first time I walked out of the handicap stall and you were sitting there waiting to use it.
I love it.
I'll never forget this. Right? Of
See,
course.
Now you get to the point where you just do it on purpose.
Oh, Tom or me?
Me.
Yeah. How many times I go in there and I see these Noble or whatever those shoes are called that he has sitting in there, and I go, damn it, Chris.
Just warming it up for you.
Said, I walk out of the stall and you said, Colin, don't let your working legs get in the way of no, what'd you say, man? I messed it all up. What'd you say to me, Tom? You said, oh, sorry, your two legs couldn't take you to the other bathroom or something. I was like, damn.
That's right. That's right. You know, there is nothing like that when you really got to go and you sit there and you go, darn it. But
I've never used a handicap stall since. And you know that I will always be a member of Tom's team. And I would love to support Project Can as much as I can.
Yeah.
I will say this. Anyone wanting to be a Jock supporter, if you are a current Jock supporter, one of the greatest abilities that you can have in this job is to be able to change your room when you're in it. And you can change it positively, you can change it negatively, or you can have no change at all when you walk into a room. And I can say there's not many people I've met in my life that changes a room more positively than Tom does. And Tom, you changed our previous hour and for the better, and we're better for it. I want to thank you for being on the Jock Support Podcast today. And I want to leave you with the last, 30 seconds, minute, whatever message you want to send out to the rest of the Jock supporters out there, and leave us with a great note.
Well, I'm going to first say thank you. And I'm going to go back on my rapid fire question. It's 100% Chris now, not Colin, because he stole my toilet when I really needed it. So just saying, Colin. Now, I just want to end it with this. I'm super appreciative of being on this show. And if I can encourage anybody to do anything, it's just go out there and live a life as meaningful, as full as you possibly can. Put one foot forward in front of each other and just keep doing whatever you're passionate and love, and never quit. Because if you do this, anything is attainable. So just get out there. I say it every time, make today better than yesterday. And if you're granted tomorrow, take advantage of that.
God bless you, man. Thanks, Tom, for joining us today.
Bang boogie, bang boogie, bang boogie.
You're welcome.
Bang to the bang to the bang to the bang to the bang. Bust it. It's like bang boogie, boogie to the bang.